Is it, let's see what you want to spend some time with. There was maybe that whole thing about the lack of joy at the moment. Is that what you want to?
Yeah, I think the lack of joy, and I guess a sustainable happiness or contentment. And maybe I'm sort of seeing the ups and downs of like when you're sad or really joyful, but it just feels, I want to enjoy more and not feel, I guess it feels like weighty right now.
Just weighty right now, just like at this phase of life, or like when?
Yeah, it feels, I mean, I used to be more sort of optimistic and just being able to, sort of get through things or push through things. And I just realized my optimism is just not, I can't like sort of turn, it's not there as much. And I think, I can look at all sort of the circumstances of what's going on in the world and my age and that kind of thing, but I'm also really trying to see, if there's a deeper level that I can be more joyful.
Yeah, and when you say that, there's a deeper level where I can be more joyful. What comes there? What comes here?
A little bit of a weight.
Yeah, right. I can sense some of that. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a weight, and it's kind of like here, or like.
Yeah, it's here, and then it kind of swings around to the back part of my ribs, the whole sort of mid-torso.
So it kind of goes all the way around. Right?
Yeah, and even in the sort of the solar plexus bit too.
And there's like an emotion that comes there. There's like a feeling that comes there.
Yeah.
But what's that like? That feels like a whole something.
Well, that it starts there and maybe radiates out or around. And I don't know, just something came to mind when I was sort of thinking and feeling about it, like it had been sort of left behind and not, nurtured or given space for.
Something about it being left behind and not given space or not being nurtured. And there feels something so nurturing in you actually saying that. There feels like there's something lovely and a tenderness in that, noticing that. So something that got left behind, that comes there.
I mean, I think, conceptually there's a memory of when my stepdad took his life. My mom I was staying with some cousins so I could go to school. So I was sort of separated during this whole huge trauma from them. And she'd come to speak to me, and I had already found out about it through my cousins. And the principal had taken me home from school. And I just remember I think obviously she was in shock, but I remember she just left me there. And I just remember her leaving and thinking, oh my God, I've lost my whole family. And being left behind. And I'm wondering if part of this is sort of, I'm leaving myself behind. Now, like yeah.
Right, so something about that whole memory is there's that like maybe a resonance with maybe I'm leaving myself behind, just like I felt left behind back then. But what what's that resonance like as you're you've got a foot in both places?
I don't know. I'm sort of thinking, like, you know, that what that meant from a memory, which is very specific to me and painful for me, and maybe feeling that I sort of raced ahead in many ways in my life, trying not to leave myself behind, but maybe in fact I have, or a part of me, that sort of vulnerable part. And it's interesting because it felt it didn't feel stuck right then. It sort of felt sort of elongated a little bit.
So it elongated a little bit there.
Yeah.
And it kind of shifted a little bit. What's your sense of that shift as it elongated?
I'm not sure. It just felt a little bit different.
Yeah.
Instead of sort of pooled here, it just felt like it shifted longer. Not so dense. I just got this image of cooking when the sauce gets too thick and you have to add water to loosen it up. That's what sort of came to mind.
Like that.
Yeah.
You can just feel that more space, like more space between the molecules, or there's something like more spacious, and the substance of it has changed, become a little lighter. It's kind of interesting. So the elongating, does it go deeper? What happens in that elongating?
I don't know. It just felt like it shifted. It was definitely longer in terms of how I feel it in my body. And I mean, it feels a little newish. That's actually really resonates. Like, not to stay still with emotion. Like, I'd either or do it so quickly that it didn't. You know, I would acknowledge it or part, but I didn't stay with it. It probably is, and sometimes not even,
Right, so in a way it would kind of skim the surface of it, or just like a swallow, it would dip in and then come out again, and then off it would be, and then off it would go. So that resonating with not staying with emotion, or not staying long enough with emotion. But again, let's just check in what comes up here about that resonance, staying with emotion.
just I'm just feeling it and allowing it. I think also the being patient with it and kind with it, and
How is that, as you're just being patient with it and being kind with it?
Well, there's a part of me, and it feels like it's like in the back spine, that wants to still get up and run and do the start
get
doing
moving.
Get moving. And I'm like, okay.
Mm.
It's interesting.
Mm-mm. So it's like you've got both happening, is that right?
Yeah.
Because it really
yeah.
feels like there's just like this lovely kind of dawning going on, or there's this lovely something going on as that's kind of being given space.
Yeah.
And the other one's saying, quick, get out of here.
Yeah. And it's like, or it's like just the, like tapping on the door. Before it just grab my hand and run. But
Right.
like, so.
Interesting. How is it having both?
Well, it feels nice to actually feel both and give space for it and say, oh, that's okay. I don't have to sink in one or do the other. Just, I don't have to do anything with them.
Right, you don't have to do anything with them, and it's just actually pretty cool to have both, to be able to be with both.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what does that do inside, or what's that like inside, that just that new kind of being with both and not having to do anything with either of them?
I think it's vacillating a little bit. Like, it sort of, it feels, okay, just allow it and be with both. And then there's this little bit of a fear that if I do that, I'll sink or something. I mean, I think that's the thing about doing
Let's give a little bit of room to that fear. So it's worried that you're going to sink? Is that what it is?
Yeah, or not be able to get up anymore. Like, sort of that.
Right.
I'm trying to name it. I don't,
Like sink into the emotion, or sink into
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like sink in and lose yourself, or sink in and get stuck down there? What's the fear?
Maybe both. Maybe a little bit of stuck. I think, wow. I think part of that is if I allow to feel my sadness or my depression too much, will I be like my stepdad? Is that like, will that happen to me if I allow my grief to be? Do you know what I mean? Like, or I won't be able to get out, or I don't know.
Yeah. That sounds very natural that there would be that fear there. With such a big trauma of losing them in that in that way, that would be the fear at the bottom, or it would be in there.
Yeah.
Then maybe let's check that out. So there's that fear that if you sink down, that it could be catastrophic in some kind of way.
Right. Yeah.
Let's just check that out. Something really big and bad would happen.
And part of it too is maybe it's also about forgiving and like getting beyond the anger and just like understanding that we all have these emotions, and they can be sad and depressed, and people do different things with them.
In that fear, like they're really going into that fear that if you go with your emotion, you're going to sink. Actually, what you find is something about forgiveness. And that we all have these emotions and we just do different things with them.
And I guess at that sort of deeper level, it's I don't have to find answers for it. For their what happened, it's or even try to understand it conceptually. Just that it's yeah.
Right. The people are so mysterious. They're such universes unto themselves. But in that kind of realization and in that forgiveness, it's like, well, that's not your path. You going into that emotion, that doesn't happen to you. Something else happens to you. Something like that. So feeling how you're different. Then it's a mystery there, but there's a difference there in how you are with your deep emotion. We just check that. Does that feel right? What is it that's there?
I think like what people it's interesting about what people say about like suicide and other things about how could they do that, or why, and this is we're going back to is that they're sort of universes and lives into their own, but it's also I feel like it's not even understand, like it's I empathize, I can be compassionate with that those deep sad and sort of depressed states of mind, because I'm allowing myself now to sort of go and feel those, because they're a part of me as well. And but I know even though that sort of scares me, that there's something that I do reach out to people. I do want life. I want to find joy. I want, there's yeah.
Let's just touch it again. What's there?
Besides my gurgly stomach. I do feel more grounded, and it's interesting. I feel like I really feel the weight of like my bottom part on this chair, and I actually feel my whole spine against the back of the chair right now.
Very grounded, really present, really there. So that's that very kind of grounded and present. And how about in here?
Just more. It just feels more more still. Just getting the image of a lake when it's just like really, really still.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it feels so. It's just so interesting to feel the body does this high alert stuff, like just being aware of when, like those states, and right now, knowing that I can come back. Here. But I think it's sort of what we spoke about having both things. I think at the same time I feel very grounded. And more steady, and like the like I feel like all of the other things, like joy and all of those things, can sort of arise out of this sort of state where I am right now. That was really interesting.
Right, so it's not about being joyous. It's about going to a place where the grief and the sadness can be allowed, and that something catastrophic isn't going to happen, and you're not going to disappear down there. And just like being in that and letting the awareness hold it. And then it's like a dropping all the way down into your body and all the way down into your feeling body. And then, right, from that place, like this tranquil of lake, actually, this is where it all arises from, whether it's joy or whether it's grief, whatever it is. Like this is the ground where it arises from. Does that feel right? Did I say that right?
Yeah. And it's kind of cool because before in my meditations I've had like these glimpses of this, but it's much more ethereal and one, but this feels very grounded in my body in
really
a different way.
grounded.
Yeah.